Okay, Kevin, let's change another topic. So, how to handle work-related stress? So, it could be stress arising from the work nature itself. It could be long working hour. It could be your work that have to be subject to scrutiny or a lot of supervision. There could be not much room for error. Like you have to not make mistake. Let's say in a surgery setting, like obviously you don't want to make mistake and you can't really afford to have medical mistakes. So those kind of situation, how would you advise or how did you handle work-related stress in the past?
Okay. Let's talk about the concept of stress itself. We feel stressful when there is an expectation of certain standards that we need to achieve when we do something. Okay. And we feel stressful when we are at school, for example, have to do an exam. We feel stressful because I have to get at least 50%, otherwise I'll fail. My mother's going to yell at me. My father's going to yell at me. So we're not stranger to stress. Number one, I just want to make that clear. None of us are stranger to stress. Okay. So work stress is just another stress. I'm not degrading it. I'm just saying the concept of stress is not new. So one of the things that I would like to clarify is that we should not give something the status of something that is so magnificent when it doesn't deserve it. For example, workplace stress is a form of stress, but it's not the stress. You have relationship stress, you have health stress, right? So let's just deal with them just like any other stress. So you highlighted a few things. Let's say something that has a time limit to do, within certain time limits, or something you just have very low margin for error, like a surgeon, or something that you are, under high scrutiny for supervision, where you're constantly under the watching eye of someone, right? So the reason why the stress comes from is the fear that you've done something wrong. Okay, so well, let's reverse engineer. What are the probabilities that I do something wrong, and why would I do something wrong? You do something wrong maybe because you don't know it well enough. You do something wrong maybe because you're tired. You do something wrong because you're not paying the attention that you need to pay because you're distracted or you're tired or some combination of health issues. Okay. You did something wrong because of maybe a poor sense of judgment. Okay. So out of all of that, I would then ask myself, how many of those things that could go wrong are actually my responsibility that I can control to a larger extent? So the first one, if I don't know my work enough, well, that's within my control. I should get to know my work better. Okay. I study more, I read more, I practice more, I learn more, I ask people more, I watch and observe more, so on and so forth. If it is health, well, again, there is a portion of which I can control, which is to seek help, to get some rest, for example. And so those are the things that I would do first to help with the stress that I'm feeling. And hopefully, when those conditions improve, I would at least reduce, if not completely remove the stress. Okay. But even if you're a top-level athlete, top-level performer, when you're doing something that you think is really important, we're always going to feel a little bit stressful, right? So let's say you're an Olympic performer and you're going for the gold medal. You are for sure going to be getting a medal, gold, silver, and bronze. But if you want to get gold, it's stressful because everyone want to get gold, right? So that guy knows everything, practice every day, still stressed. So I'm saying stress is actually just sometimes an essential part of us trying to be the best of who we are. Now, if you don't care about anything, then maybe you won't feel a stress. But is that a good thing? right? I think in some ways you should care less. Yeah. For example, in some things that maybe try to think of a good example. Uh, uh, maybe you express yourself in a certain way, which is not like harmful or anything, but it's just the way you express. And other people think that you're strange, and they want you to pull up to their side and say, "Hey, we should express it this way because it's less weird," right? And I'm saying, well, it's working for me, and I don't feel the need to do it. Okay, so things like that, or things like your taste in food, in clothing, in aesthetics. Why should I care about what people say? And maybe in those times, maybe you should care less. Then you wouldn't have to worry about the social stress, for example. But coming back to work, those three things that I mentioned about, controlling the things that you can control and creating conditions to better manage those things that are within your control. And then ultimately, when those things are within your control, it will reduce the stress, but the nature of the job itself cannot change. So if despite doing all of that, you're still stressful, maybe it's time to look at, is this works really for you? Does it play to your strength, or is it playing to your weakness? And that's why you feel constantly stressed, because we're not good at doing everything, right? So, yeah.
So as you were talking, I was recalled of some kind of level of position. So let's say someone in the management level that has to coordinate different departments, different teams, and there are a lot of things to look after, a lot of people, relationship, work, maybe internal, maybe external. Let's say the role of a CEO, right? There's a lot of things that go through the CEO. And naturally, he or she has to do a lot of things. And sometimes, obviously, those things are out of his or her control. So, in that case, from what you were talking, right, if the things are not within control, then we should not be as stressed, right? But sometimes there's also, as the CEO, let's say, or as the manager, you have to be accountable for the outcome, right? So even it's not your fault, it's your subordinate's fault, but you are accountable or responsible for the outcome. Then how would you advise people at management level, or would have to suffer, or not suffer, but have to take responsibility for outcomes of other people's creation? Yeah.
It's a great question. And the answer is simple: accept the responsibility. Um, as a manager, you get paid more, you get more privileges. There are many things you don't have to do. And so the reason that you get paid more is because ultimately we need somebody who has the leadership skills to coordinate everything, but we also need someone ultimately, as the saying goes, the buck ends here. This is where the buck stops. You can't blame anybody else. And this is the first person you go to for accountability, because this person has the overall control of the design, the administration, the running of it. You can't tell me, Francis, that you are a leader of a team and the first sign of something going wrong is that, oh, it's not my fault. It's like this guy here. I mean, then why are you there? As a leader, what is the function of the leader? The function is to own up all of the consequences of that team and shield the individual members, okay? But it's also the manager's responsibility to find a solution that fixes the problem, okay? And so, yes, it's a rough deal, but you are being treated in a preferential way in many ways. So you need to take the good with the bad. And you need to demonstrate that you are worth being the leader at the times of need. When they need you, you need to stand up and say, and take account and say, yes, this is my responsibility. And you don't have to say, okay, well, I did that, but to say, look, let me let me take the overall responsibility of owning this problem. I will fix it. Blah, blah. You don't have to say that, oh, you did it. No one's asking you to say that. But you have to be one that says, I will fix it. That's the ownership that people are looking for. Whether it be corporation, a government, doesn't matter what, right? In any leadership position. So yeah, I think that that person, the stress, so-called stress of owning someone else's mistake comes with the territory when those people reporting to you, okay? And I guess this is a side point. When you delegate certain part of your work to your team, and why would you delegate? Well, you want to create capacity, but you also want the team to have space to grow. They can't just be doing the same old thing for the last 10 years. You got to keep giving them new things so they can grow and become more productive, right? Whenever you do that, it's like whenever someone learns something new, at some point, someone's going to make a mistake. So now you as a leader, your responsibility is to create a balance. I'm going to give these guys something to do, but this is the training I'm going to give them before they do it. And I'm going to give them only these things for now, and I'm going to watch them for 3 months, see how it goes. If it goes well, I'm going to give them a little bit more of this. So all of that design is up to you, right? If something flips, I'm still going to blame you because you designed it, right? But no one is perfect. No one can foresee everything. Some people are a little bit conservative. Some people are a little bit more progressive. They make things happen a little bit quicker. And obviously, the more progressive ones are likely to run into more problems quicker. But it's a trade-off between efficiency and safety, right? So within that, everybody finds their balance.
So I think there's a certain level of stress, or more precisely, anxiety that associate with taking risk, right? Because if you
Yeah,
want to do something new, or you are at a higher level, then there are certain risks that you have to take. And it comes with the good side and the bad side of it, right? You can't have all the perks, but no downside, right? So I think, yeah, if we just look at nature, right, the alpha males are those who take the most risk and threatened by other species or other animal. But as the alpha male, you get the most food and the
right,
privilege, right? So
right.
it's down to whether you want to be, or are you willing and able to accept that risk? Yeah. So
That's true. And not everyone wants to be a leader. I think the perception gap is before you're a leader, you want to be a leader because all you see are the privileges. And you say, oh, I want to be that guy, so I don't know how to do this, know how to do that. But what you're not seeing is what the leader has to be responsible for to his leader or her leader. That part, most of the people who is under the leader will never see. So when that guy got up there, all of a sudden, he said, oh my God, as a leader, I have to do that? Oh, if I knew, I wouldn't want to be here because it's so much more comfortable just giving something to do. As a leader, you have to actually create something. You have to create a business strategy. You have to create a product. You have to create a service from nothing. You have to make things happen, and you have to jump through hoops to get approvals, do pitches. Most people are not ready to have that level of proactiveness in running a business. And they're so used to being an employee by somebody telling them what to do. Okay. And they think that being a leader is just a top dog of being somebody that get told what to do. But they don't understand that being a top dog is not that. Top dog is creating work for other people to do, creating value more precisely, ideally.
so I guess we should separate different types of stress, right? There are stress coming from above, and there's also stress from managing below. So different types of stress associate with different position. Yeah, I think, and different
Yeah.
ways to handle that. And yeah, I think you have to accept that if you're in that position that you find yourself in. Yeah. Any lasting thoughts you want to add?
No, just I think look at stress in a try to look at it not from an emotional point of view. Try to look at it in a little bit rational, as if there's any other, emotion, and try to decompose what causes the stress. And then eventually you will find out things that you can have certain degree of control. You do that. And after that, you just simply be settled that, hey, I've done everything I can. So that's good. I can sleep now because I have done my bit, right? So I think I would really suggest the people do that so they can at least have some personal peace of mind, even if they have to be stressed out, they say, hey, I've done everything I can. So, yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.